Well, I think the latest is really coming from Parliament, actually, where you are in London with the Home Secretary addressing the Commons on the tragedy that unfolded in the Channel yesterday afternoon, saying that she is determined to redouble efforts to ensure that the people smugglers complicit in this criminal trade are brought to justice and that their model is smashed. And she has renewed this offer that the Prime Minister also spoke about yesterday after that Cobra crisis cabinet meeting, that offer to French authorities to give them border force agents, other security staff from the UK, to be able to patrol the beaches of northwestern France to bolster the number of security personnel along those shorelines to try to stop these boats getting into the water in the first place, because clearly we see it day after day on days when there are calm conditions, these boats pushing off one after another with very little, it seems, if any, attempts made by the French authorities to stop them. Now, the French would argue that's not the case, that they do stop migrant boats, that they stop them getting off the shore, and if they're close enough to shore, they do turn them around. But the statistics speak for themselves, and actually about 3/4 of the boats that try to leave French shores do make it to the UK. So some real concern there from the UK authorities about whether France is fully committed to this fight, and that offer of extra personnel to go and man the beaches was rejected by the French government initially. They haven't said anything really in response to this renewed offer. I guess the ball is in their court. Let's see what the French president has to say.
Yes, indeed, Mark. And what have the crossing situation been like today? I think there was a thought, at least, after yesterday's incident that, it might stem the flow of crossings, as it were. But I understand that earlier on today there were some more.
Yeah, I mean, you might have thought that for a time at least there would have been a pause in the number of migrants being pushed out on these small boats across the English Channel, but not a bit of it. First thing this morning, 4:15 a.m. in fact, the Border Force cutter Valiant came in here to Dover Harbour with 10 migrants on board that they had pulled off a small boat in the middle of the channel. Then about an hour later, the Dover lifeboat arrived with 40 to 50 migrants that they had also taken from a small boat in the middle of the channel. There have been some other activity in the channel, but nothing that has come this way to Dover so far. But the trade continues, and whenever conditions improve, and they're pretty horrendous actually out in the channel at the moment, because it's a 20-knot wind at least, which is whipping up the waves and making that very treacherous today. So we weren't expecting much in the way of activity, but the very fact that there is still activity, given the conditions out there, given what happened yesterday, is very worrying indeed. And we've been learning, Gloria and Patrick, a bit more about the boat that was involved in this tragedy yesterday, described by the French authorities as a flimsy inflatable boat, and that is right. We understand it was an inflatable that has been manufactured in China. A number of them have been pushed across the channel in recent months, quite a few of them towed in here, and they are prone to, in the direct sunlight, popping because they've got quite weak seams, and they can't take much in the way of weight. Well, this boat yesterday had about 30 people on, enough, of course, to fracture the seams of this boat, it would seem, and it started deflating before it got to the halfway point in the English Channel, and obviously led to the very tragic scenes that we saw with all those people thrown into the water and either drowned or died of hypothermia before the medical services could get to them.